They say you can live with someone for decades and still never truly know them. I used to think that was just cynical talk from bitter people with broken marriages. I was married for 28 years. I thought I knew my wife better than I knew myself. We built a life together, raised a brilliant daughter, shared birthdays, holidays, anniversaries. I thought I could predict her every move. I thought I could read her like a balance sheet. But that day, I realized I'd spent nearly 3 decades sleeping beside a stranger. It all began on the eve of our daughter's wedding. Christine was glowing. The house smelled like gardenias and fresh linen, and the staff was in a frenzy of final preparations. The garden had been transformed into a dreamscape: white roses, fairy lights, linen-draped tables, everything she'd ever wanted, paid for in advance and planned to perfection. I had spent 25 years building my reputation as one of the best forensic accountants in the state. I'd handled multi-million-dollar disputes, exposed embezzlements so tangled the courts had to appoint me a translator of numbers. So when I created a wedding trust for Christine, $300,000 locked tight with strict stipulations, I thought I'd done everything right. It was secure, untouchable. Or so I thought. Nadine was quieter than usual that day. Not tense. Not upset. Just detached. She moved like someone walking through a house they didn't plan to live in much longer. Her compliments felt rehearsed. Her smile didn't reach her eyes. She adjusted her pearl earrings in the mirror, gave me a once-over, and told me my tie matched her dress perfectly. I didn't think much of it. Just nerves, I assumed. Weddings bring out the best and worst in people. Then the doorbell rang. Sabrina. My sister. Always early, always dramatic. She hugged Christine too hard and lingered too long. When she embraced me, her perfume clung to my collar like a warning sign, and for the first time in years I felt something between us I couldn't name, distance mixed with guilt. Minutes later, my attorney, Bradley Foster, arrived through the side entrance. That was odd. We'd been friends for 15 years. He was the one who helped me through some of my toughest legal battles. Divorce cases. Asset recovery. Ironclad prenups. We shared drinks, golf games, business secrets. I trusted him implicitly. But when Nadine said, "I'll let him in through the side entrance, he has some papers you need to sign," something twisted in my gut. The side entrance? Why? Before I could question it, Annette knocked on my study door. She's been my assistant for over a decade. Loyal, brilliant, intuitive. She walked in with her tablet, her hands trembling slightly. "There's something you need to see," she said. And that's when everything began to unravel. She showed me the logs, internal flags in the system I designed myself. Someone had been sniffing around the wedding trust account. Early withdrawal options. Legal loopholes. Attempts to obscure the trail. The requests came from Bradley's office, she said quietly. But they weren't logged the usual way. That's when I heard Nadine's voice, clear, cruel, and dripping with disdain, carrying through the open window that overlooked the garden. "That doormat of a husband is too busy playing Father of the Year to see what's coming." My world tilted on its axis. I moved to the window, phone in hand, and hit record. Her voice again. This time, lower, conspiratorial. "Let's meet in the gazebo. It's more private." Bradley's response sent a cold shiver down my spine. "Everything's ready. The paperwork is airtight. Once it's done, the money's ours." I didn't move. I didn't scream. I just listened. And then I acted. I instructed Annette to keep Christine away from the garden, away from the betrayal blooming beneath the cherry blossoms. Then I made my way outside, phone still recording in my pocket. My steps were slow, deliberate, controlled. I knew the paths of that garden better than I knew my own heartbeat. Every hedge trimmed to regulation. Every stone placed with precision. And at the far end stood the gazebo. A white structure that had once hosted birthday toasts and anniversary dances. Now it was a crime scene. I saw them as I turned the final corner. Nadine fixing her hair. Bradley adjusting his cuffs. Sabrina pacing nearby, looking nauseous. Nadine didn't flinch. She turned to me with a calm smile and said, "Actually, I'm not drunk and I'm not ashamed. Bradley and I are leaving. With the wedding fund. Sue me if you want. You'll never win." My hand tightened around the phone. It was still recording. I kept my voice level. "You're forgetting something. This is a fault-based divorce state. And I'm not just a man with a checkbook. I'm a forensic accountant with irrefutable evidence." Bradley's expression faltered. Nadine's composure held for another 10 seconds. Then she turned, cold and smug, and walked back toward the house. They thought it was over. They had no idea it had just begun. That night, as the guests arrived and laughter echoed through the lantern-lit garden, I played the role. The doting father. The gracious host. I smiled for the photos. Raised a glass during the toast. all while the phone in my pocket burned with evidence. Nadine floated through the crowd like royalty, greeting guests as if nothing had happened. Bradley kept his distance, occasionally glancing my way with the wary eyes of a man who had just realized he'd underestimated his opponent. Christine, thankfully, knew nothing yet. But as I stood in the shadows of the house we'd built together watching my daughter laugh with her friends, I made a vow. The same kind of vow I used to make in courtrooms and deposition rooms when the stakes were numbers. Only this time it was personal. I would expose every detail, track every payment, log every lie. And when it was all over, they wouldn't just lose the money. They would lose everything. Not because I was angry. Not because I wanted revenge. But because I knew how to follow the trail. And numbers, unlike people, never lie. By the time dawn broke, I had already listened to the recording 5 times. Every word. Every laugh. Every breath. Nadine's voice, laced with venom. Bradley's smug confidence. Sabrina's silence, complicit, weak. I'd spent my career hunting financial ghosts in spreadsheets and forensic audits, but this was different. This wasn't about clients. This was my family. The trust fund $300,000 wasn't just a number. It was 25 years of planning, saving, protecting. I built that account like a fortress. Nadine had tried to burn it to the ground. Not just for the money, but to humiliate me. To reduce me to nothing in the eyes of our daughter. And Bradley, he'd been in my home. At my table. With a fork in one hand and a knife in my back. I didn't go to bed that night. I didn't even sit. I made copies of the audio recording. Uploaded them to cloud storage. Created secure backups on encrypted drives. Then I began digging through everything: Bradley's case history, old client files, email exchanges. Something didn't sit right. And when your instincts scream in your own house, you listen. By 7 a.m. I pulled into a cafe I hadn't been to in years. Bean's Cafe. Run by Diana Bean, a longtime friend from college. Trustworthy. Sharp. Always listening. Damn, she muttered when she saw me. You look like hell. Is Felix here yet? I asked. She pointed to the back booth. Coffee. Black. And keep it coming. Felix Stout sat hunched over a legal pad, making notes like a man plotting an ambush. And in a way, he was. Felix was the kind of divorce attorney people feared. He didn't just win, he annihilated. You said it was urgent, he said, not looking up. It is, I replied. Bradley Foster is having an affair with my wife. And they're trying to steal my daughter's wedding fund. That made him stop writing. He raised his eyes slowly. Foster? Seriously. I pulled out my phone, placed it between us, and hit play. Felix leaned in. Nadine's voice came through clear and sharp. Bradley and I are running away with your wedding fund. Sue me. You'll never win. Then Bradley, the paperwork's ready whenever you are. Felix didn't speak until it ended. Well, he said, leaning back, we got him. Diana brought the coffee. You want privacy? She asked. Felix shook his head. You might want to hear this. He pulled a manila folder from his briefcase. I've been watching Bradley's name come up for months now. Suspicious activity, especially in divorce cases where the wives suddenly file and walk away with more than they should have. But no one had proof. He opened the folder. Photographs. Receipts. Surveillance stills. There was Nadine sitting at the same corner table every Tuesday, smiling across at Bradley like a schoolgirl at prom. They called it her yoga class, Diana said. Same time, same seat, same face. I stared at the photos. It all looked so obvious now. Felix leaned forward. Show me your financials. Every file Bradley touched in the last 6 months. I handed him my laptop. Start with the recovery project. Something's off in that case, too. For the next hour, we ripped through data like a SWAT team through a door. Payments rerouted. Signatures forged. 3 other clients, men whose wives mysteriously filed for divorce right after legal settlements moved through Bradley's hands. He didn't just cheat with Nadine, I muttered. He's been running a goddamn operation. And he's never been caught until now, Felix said, his voice flat with purpose. He reached for his phone. There's someone you need to meet. 20 minutes later, a man walked in wearing a charcoal suit and the kind of expression that told you he'd seen the inside of too many courtrooms. Pablo Alexander, chairman of the State Bar Association's Ethics Committee and an old roommate from my university days. Liam Weston, he said, shaking my hand. It's been a while. I nodded. Wish it were under different circumstances. Felix briefed him. Pablo listened carefully, then spread the evidence out on the table. The pattern's clear, he said. This goes beyond a civil case. This is coordinated legal misconduct. Possibly criminal conspiracy. There's more, I added. My sister's involved. Both men looked up. I pulled another file from my folder, bank records, offshore transfers, neatly itemized. Monthly payments, I said. 5 grand. For over a year. From a shell account Bradley controls. Straight to Sabrina. Pablo's jaw tightened. Your own sister? She's known everything. Probably helped set it up. They didn't speak. They didn't have to. In that moment, we were no longer 3 men drinking coffee in a quiet cafe. We were a war council. I stood. I have to get home. Christine's going to wake up soon and Nadine's probably already packing. We need to move fast. Felix nodded. Give me 2 hours. I'll have the filing ready. I paused at the door, turned back. This doesn't end with divorce, I said. I want them disbarred. I want them ruined. Felix smiled. We're already halfway there. The drive home felt unreal. Christine rode beside me in silence, her hands twisting in her lap. Dad, she said quietly, Mom's acting weird. She's packing her things. Said the wedding's off. I didn't respond. Not yet. When we got home, we found Nadine in the master bedroom folding clothes into a designer suitcase like she was heading to a beach resort, not a legal battle. She turned calm and cold. The wedding's canceled. Your father's been spying on me. He's unstable. Christine's eyes darted between us. I pulled out my phone. Show her, I said. Show her why you're really leaving. Nadine didn't move. So I hit play. Her voice. Bradley's. The plan. Christine went pale. Her hand went to her mouth. You were going to steal my wedding fund? Your father is manipulating you. Save it, I said, cutting her off. The trust has an ironclad clause. Only Christine can access the money. And only for her wedding. That's why you've been trying to find a loophole, isn't it? She didn't answer. The sound of a car door slamming outside caught our attention. Bradley had arrived. I looked at my phone. Text from Felix, process server en route. Pablo's pulling full misconduct review. Hold tight. I turned back to Nadine. Perfect timing. Ask him about the other wives. The other stolen settlements. The offshore accounts. Her face cracked. What are you talking about? You thought you were special? I said. Ask Sabrina. Ask her what she did for her $5,000 a month. Christine gasped. And Sabrina? She helped you try to steal from me. Nadine opened her mouth, but the doorbell rang. No one moved. Process server, I said. Better answer it. Christine stepped forward. I want to hear Bradley explain. I want to see his face when he realizes what you've both done. Nadine's hands dropped to her sides. Her suitcase remained half-packed on the bed. How long have you known? She whispered. About you and Bradley? Since last night, I said. About his schemes? Since 3 a.m. And Sabrina? That was a surprise, I said. But then again, betrayal rarely comes from enemies. Footsteps echoed down the stairs. Christine's voice rose through the hallway. Then Felix's. Then a stranger's, deep, official. I turned to Nadine one last time. You made one mistake, I said quietly. You tried to outmaneuver a forensic accountant. The door creaked open. Felix entered first, holding legal documents. Behind him, a court officer. And trailing them, Bradley, shoulders slumped, eyes already calculating escape. Felix smiled coldly. Shall we discuss the terms of surrender? 6 months later, I sat behind a row of legal pads and USB drives waiting for the gavel to fall. The courtroom buzzed with whispers, lawyers, journalists, former clients. All eyes were on one man seated across from me, Bradley Foster. His tailored suit couldn't hide the sweat on his neck or the way he kept adjusting his tie like it was choking him. Beside him, Nadine looked like a shadow of the woman I once married. Still polished, still poised, but the mask had cracked. She sat with her back straight, hands folded, eyes glassy. All rise. Judge Morrison entered, robe flowing, eyes sharp. Zero tolerance for deception, that was her reputation. Felix opened with precision. Your Honor, we present Exhibit A, an audio recording obtained lawfully on private property by a party to the conversation. Nadine's voice filled the room. Bradley and I are running away with your wedding fund. Sue me. You'll never win. Bradley's voice followed. Everything's ready. The paperwork's airtight. Every word nailed them deeper. Objections flew. Felix countered calmly, citing state consent laws and privacy expectations. The judge nodded. Proceed. Diana took the stand next, in a simple navy suit, no nonsense. They met every Tuesday, she said. Corner table. They thought no one noticed. Then came Sabrina. She tried to play the victim. Tried to say she was tricked. But under cross-examination, her story fell apart. Felix held up the bank records. Monthly payments, $5,000. Offshore account. Care to explain? I didn't know. You didn't know the man sending you thousands each month was sleeping with your brother's wife? Helping him access a restricted trust. She crumbled. Couldn't answer. Pablo testified last. Calm, deliberate, devastating. Bradley Foster demonstrated a pattern of misconduct, targeting vulnerable clients for financial exploitation through marital entanglement. When the judge finally ruled, the room held its breath. Mr. Foster's license is hereby suspended pending full disbarment review. Mrs. Weston's prenuptial agreement remains in full effect. Full control of all marital assets awarded to Mr. Weston. Bradley's eyes didn't rise from the table. Nadine didn't move. Outside, reporters waited like wolves. But I didn't speak to them. I had someone else to talk to. Spring returned with soft winds and silent promises. The same garden where betrayal bloomed now held new meaning. Christine stood beneath the cherry blossoms, not in a cathedral veil, but a simple white dress, holding a bouquet she picked herself. Maurice waited for her at the altar, confident, steady, honest. Everything her mother had once pretended to be. We didn't have 100 guests. Just a few dozen. Family, what remained of it, and friends who'd proven themselves in fire. Diana catered the entire event herself. Annette stood beside me, her hand brushing mine now and then like an anchor, silent but sure. Christine had made the decision after the trial. No grand reception. No rented ballroom. I just want something real, she'd said. And this was real. The wedding fund Nadine tried to steal had become something better, a foundation. We named it after Christine's middle name, Hope. It provided legal and financial help for families like ours, victims of spousal fraud, betrayal, financial manipulation. In 6 months, we helped 4 families avoid exactly what Bradley had tried to do. Bradley? Disbarred. His name became a warning in every legal ethics seminar from Boston to San Diego. Last I heard, he was working as a clerk in a dusty Arizona law office under someone else's name. Nadine moved in with a cousin out west. Alone. The prenup held. She lost the house, the accounts, the reputation. Her attempts to claim anything from the trust fund collapsed under the weight of her own recorded voice. Sabrina tried to apologize. Too late. My father, retired judge, cut her from his will without ceremony. Betrayal isn't just immoral, he told her. It's stupid. The cherry blossoms swirled around us like confetti as Christine and Maurice said their vows. She cried. I cried. And when I walked her down the aisle, I didn't feel bitter. I didn't think about what was stolen. I thought about what was left. What we rebuilt. What they couldn't touch. Later that evening, Annette and I stood at the edge of the garden watching Christine dance. A little girl no more. A woman stronger than the lies that nearly broke her family. Annette leaned close. We did it. I nodded. Not revenge. Not victory. Justice. And something more. We turned betrayal into legacy. And planted truth where deceit once grew.